Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome those here in the chapel, those that are present here in the chapel, or those who have parts in our Kristallnacht Commemoration. Because of COVID-19, we were unable to have a full gathering. But that said, I know that many of you are gathering through our live stream and through our YouTube channel. So a warm word of welcome wherever you are, whoever you are, and especially for those who are joining us through cyberspace. Before we actually begin, I have good news and bad news. The good news is I lost my notes of what I was going to say here this afternoon. I just came back from a funeral memorial service and I must have left it there. So that's the good news, that I lost my notes. The bad news is I remember everything I was going to say. So here we are. This, to my mind, is one of the most important things that we do here at Sacred Heart University each year. And we've been doing this, I think, for about 10 years or so. And why is it important? This is not just a Jewish event, it's a human event. And I know that various synagogues and mosques are joining us through the live streaming, as well as other Catholic and Christian communities. This is something that involves all of us, and that's very important. One of my favorite things to do is I love going to the Holy Land. And in Israel, as Marcello could tell you, have you been to Israel? No? Yeah. In Israel, and you've been to Yad Vashem, I'm sure. I've been to Yad Vashem 18 times. And Yad Vashem is the Jewish Holocaust Memorial Museum in Israel. And each time I go, there's a part of me that doesn't want to go. There's a part of me that I find very painful to walk through that museum when I see the shoes of children that were killed during the Holocaust, the clothes, pictures of people, and other such things. I never leave there feeling good. And so there's a part of me that doesn't want to go there. But the very word Yad Vashem means to remember. And it's important to remember. And I want to propose that in the Holocaust commemoration and the Kristallnacht commemoration, we are about the work of a dangerous memory. Why? As we commemorate Kristallnacht, and we go back, turn the clocks back to 1938, and we go back and we see humankind at its worst. We see what humankind at its worst is capable of doing. And that is a very frightening thought. And it's a thought that I'd rather not think about. And that's the dangerous memory. Because as we go back and look, and it's important that we do, and feel everything that will be elicited in our emotions as we recall Kristallnacht, as we recall that fateful night that began years of the persecution of the Jewish people. So as we go back and we see humankind at its worst, we are challenged to look at that and not to run away from it. And that's what we're doing here, so that we make up our minds that this will never happen again. And that we are all committed to make sure that this never happens again, right? Pope Francis, in his writings, I referred to just two of them here this afternoon. One is Laudato Si, which is his writing or encyclical on the environment, taking care of the earth. And the more recent one that just came out a few weeks ago called Fratelli Tutti, meaning we're all brothers and sisters. In both of these documents, he addresses, in the first, he addresses every woman and every man who lives on this planet. That's all of us. Every woman and every man who lives on this planet. And he does the same in Fratelli Tutti. He says, I embrace everyone. I embrace the whole universe. And what he says, in effect, is we are all in this together and that we are all responsible. And the whole point of his writings, and this is what we are about here today, is taking down walls. This is what we're about. Taking down walls and creating a culture of solidarity. And for that reason, I feel that this is one of the most important things that we do here at this university. As we gather today, we will see various religions represented by our rabbi, Marcello Cormus, Bar Imam, Rabbi Mangazi, and by Reverend Sarah, representing a plethora of faith traditions. Religion at its very worst is not a good thing. At its worst. Once I think I'm speaking in God's name, we're in trouble. Religion at its worst is dangerous, very dangerous. At its best, religion brings us together. And so what we are about here today is our best self. We gather really with other faith traditions, and we also gather in terms of what we do here at the university and our multicultural center. And we're saying here every day, symbolically, and now here in the service, that in fact, everybody counts. Everybody. And once we say one person doesn't count, all bets are off. And so as we gather for this commemoration today, let's go through the painful memory so that we can be challenged. And that as we are challenged to move forward, as Pope Francis says so well, we need to be bold in hope. To be bold in hope. So just as difficult as it is to feel some of the things that we might feel as we remember, we leave with the whole challenge now is that we're called to be bold in hope, and that our work or our mission is to make this world a better place, a place of compassion, a place of inclusion, a place of unity, a place where every single human being counts.
Shalom, my name is Cameron Silver. I'm a senior in the theology department here at Sacred Heart University. I'm also a Division I athlete, and I'm active in Greek life. Last year, I was lucky enough to have Rabbi Marcello as one of my professors for not just one, but 2 classes. Throughout those 2 classes, I learned a lot about a religion that for most of my life I was quite unfamiliar with. As a little boy, my mother used to explain Judaism as Christianity, except without Christ being the Son of God. However, I learned there is so much more to it. 2 essential values of Judaism are tradition and community. In the Jewish faith, it is believed that it is through each other that we reach God, instead of Christ being that median. That is why it is so important for us all to gather like this, to commemorate Kristallnacht through our tradition and community, and to not only acknowledge the horrible events that occurred on that night, but also to reflect on it so that we may take steps to assure nothing like this ever happens again. Kristallnacht occurred from the night of November 9th to the morning of November 10 during the year 1938. During this terrible night, 1,350 synagogues were burned, over 7,000 Jewish stores and homes were destroyed, 30,000 people were imprisoned in concentration camps, and 91 people were killed. As we look back at what happened, many people beg the question, where was God? But I think a better question to ask is, where was the rest of the world? Unfortunately, most of us here today were not able to be a part of the solution due to it being over 80 years ago. However, it is a vital part of our history that offers us insight into how to handle evil in the real world. Today, we are faced with a different challenge, the COVID-19 virus. Through the lessons taught to us during the Holocaust, such as the necessity for universal community and the importance of speaking out against injustice, we can use the mistakes of yesterday to ensure a safer tomorrow for us all. As we go back out into the world at the end of today's ceremony, let us leave with the confidence to remember that even though you are wearing a mask, you still have a voice to speak out about what is right. Finally, I would like to welcome on behalf of the student body, someone I look up to greatly, a man who upholds the beliefs and morals of the Jewish faith, Rabbi Marcelo Kormis.
Salam, Shalom, peace. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of God, the most merciful, the most beneficent. As a Muslim, I feel the words shared on the walls of the Museum of Holocaust. For the dead and the living, we must bear witness. As the Holy Quran commands, O you who believe, be upright for God and be bearers of witness with justice. I am here to bear witness. Kristallnacht should not be forgotten because that marked the beginning of a tragedy, the Holocaust, one of the most horrible events in the human history. You don't have to be a believer, a Muslim or a Christian, to feel and share the pain and sorrow of the dehumanization process of Holocaust. You just have to be a human being with feelings. Pains are never to be compared, but are there to feel each other. Unfortunately, a Kristallnacht is happening even today. At least 2 million Muslims have been confined to camps where imams are shaken and young men are forced to renounce their faith in China. Demolition of mosques and bulldozing of cemeteries is a continuous, relentless process. A Kristallnacht happened and is happening in today's Turkey also, where the Erdogan regime orchestrated a false coup d'etat, a Kristallnacht, and after that he closed more than 2,000 schools, arrested more than 500,000 people, and confiscated hundreds of thousands of businesses. We, believers of different faiths, are coming together and supporting each other at prayer services and vigils. We express our support and concern whenever a community is being attacked by any type of supremacist. I think and believe that we should support each other in educating our youth with love, tolerance, and humanistic light of faith. As an Albanian Muslim, I am proud of being from a country which was on the right side of the history. We risked our lives to save the Jews from the Nazis. We are proud, and we would do this again. Albania was the only country in Europe in which there were more Jews after the war than there had been before the war. Before World War II, there were only 200 Jews in Albania. After the war, there were many more Jews after the Jewish refugees from some half-dozen European countries fled the Nazi persecution and sought shelter in Albania. We gave them Besa, the sacred Albanian promise of protection. I think and I believe that we should give our Besa to everyone oppressed. At least we should feel the pain. I feel immense sadness whenever I see, read, or hear about events like Kristallnacht. But whenever I am here at Sacred Heart University family, I also have hope. If we can come together, keeping our beautiful colors and values, united in love, peace, and universal values, Kristallnacht will never happen again. And if it happens, we all together and united will stay against it. My Lord, we remember millions of innocent Jews killed just because of their identity. My God, help us removing the destructive prejudices that might drive communities apart. Forgive us if we give space to fear, negativity, and hatred of others just because they are different from us. O Allah, my Lord, help us to stand together with those who are suffering, so that love may banish all hatred and good will triumph over evil. O God, direct our prayers and actions towards your love. Amen.
Good afternoon. I'm Reverend Sara Smith. I'm the Protestant Christian chaplain here at Sacred Heart and senior minister of United Congregational Church of Bridgeport, Congregation of the United Church of Christ. On behalf of those Christian bodies, I bring you greetings to this most important occasion in the name of all that is holy. However, I cannot just blithely bring you a Christian welcome and not acknowledge what some have done in the name of my faith. Indeed, that is why we are here today, to own the history, to acknowledge where religion has been misused and appropriated to justify prejudice and raise systemic evil, and frankly, morphed into nationalism. We are here to remember, to learn, to confess, and to seek forgiveness. We must embrace our past in order to move into the future. To be sure, every world religion has elements in it that misuse their faith and do unspeakable things that are entirely antithetical to that faith. I'm also sure that when those forces rear their head, it causes God to weep. I would be remiss if I did not caution us to not move so quickly toward that future as to absolve ourselves from the actions that others have done in our religion's name. It is not enough to say, well, I didn't participate in the Holocaust, I didn't own slaves, I did not participate in the Armenian genocide or the Rhodesian genocide, or this, or this, or this. And while you and I as individuals may not have committed those crimes against humanity, we will be guilty of indifference if we do not stand strong when that hate rears itself today. And my friends, white supremacy in the name of Christ is still with us, and it must be denounced. They do not speak for my faith, they do not speak for me, and I will not stand silently by while they now evangelize the same hate we remember today. We must take the horrific memories that we lift up of the Kristallnacht and allow them to move us off of indifference to action. Elie Wiesel, a Holocaust survivor and writer, wrote these profound words. The opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. The opposite of faith is not heresy, it's indifference. The opposite of life is not death, it's indifference. Today, as we lift our voices in remembrance of the night of broken glass, let us also commit to standing up when any religion is used to justify prejudice. Let us not be indifferent. Only then will my gesture of welcome in Christ's name have true significance. Thank you.
the sun. I believe in the sun, even when it's not shining. I believe in the sun. I believe in the sun, even when it's not shining. I believe in love. I believe in love, even when I don't feel it. I believe in love. I believe in love, even when I don't feel it. I believe in love. I believe in love, even when I don't feel it. I believe in love. I believe in love, even when I don't feel it. I believe in God. I believe in God, even when God is silent.
Good afternoon. My name is Trendon Gardner. I'm a junior here at Sacred Heart, and I'll be reading Shema by Primo Levi. You who live secure in your warm houses, who return at evening to find hot food and friendly faces, consider whether this is a man who labors in the mud, who knows no peace, who fights for a crust of bread, who dies at a yes or a no. Consider whether this is a woman without hair or name, with no more strength to remember, eyes empty and womb cold as a frog in the winter. Consider that this has been. I commend these words to you, engrave them on your heart. When you are in your house, when you walk on your way, when you go to bed, and when you rise. Repeat them to your children, or may your house crumble, disease render you powerless, and your offspring avert their face from you.
טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. שבת אחים גם יחד. מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד.
Good afternoon. My name is David Title. I'm a professor in the Farrington College of Education here at Sacred Heart University. It's my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker for today's program, Rabbi Marcelo Cormes, although guest is hardly the right word to describe him. It is in my great fortune to learn from Rabbi Cormes here at Sacred Heart, where he has held numerous lunch and learn sessions for faculty and staff members. His command of the Bible and its application to modern life is remarkable. He's able to weave together the traditions of many faiths, biblical text, and historical events in a way that enlightens us all, of all faiths. It's a great benefit to Sacred Heart that he has a presence in our community, serving as the university chaplain. He's a rabbi at Temple Beth El in Fairfield, a post he's held since 2012. He came to the United States from his native Chile, where he led a congregation in Santiago and studied in Buenos Aires. His family immigrated to Chile to escape Nazi persecution. His own life experiences and wisdom make him the perfect choice to address us on this occasion. Rabbi Cormes.
Thank you, David, for the introduction, and thank you, Sacred Heart, for inviting me today to share with you some aspects and some thoughts about Kristallnacht. This is my second time, so I guess the first one worked out well, and I'm glad to be here with you again to reflect upon Kristallnacht. 82 years ago, the night of November 9, 1938, 7,500 Jewish stores and businesses were set on fire. Their windows were destroyed and their smashed glasses covered the streets. More than 200 synagogues were severely damaged and destroyed around Germany. Sidurim, prayer books, Torah scrolls, prayer shawls, and tefillin lied on the floor as silent witnesses of this terrible night. Jewish cemeteries were desecrated and vandalized. Headstones were uprooted and tombstones violated. More than 30,000 Jews were arrested and taken to concentration camps. The next morning, November 10th, when the first rays of a cold and pale November sun penetrated the heavy dark clouds, the fate of the Jewish people changed forever. November 9th, November 10th, 1938, will be remembered as the Kristallnacht, the night of the broken glass. After Kristallnacht, conditions for German Jews grew increasingly worse. These 24 hours of hatred, violence, and destruction served notice to German Jews that Nazi anti-Semitism was not a temporary predicament and would only intensify. 82 years later, it is clear to me that the world has not yet learned the lessons from this dark and horrible day. We see Jews being beaten and harassed in major cities around the world. We witness attacks on synagogues, Jewish cemeteries, and Jewish organizations. We see a spike of anti-Semitic incidents on college campuses around the United States, and we witness how anti-Semitic speakers continue to be invited to address campus audiences in disturbing numbers. Paid advertisements denying the Holocaust are being submitted to and printed by several college newspapers. The BDS movement is becoming stronger around the world, and today's anti-Semitism is disguised behind anti-Zionism. Statistics are frightening. 2/3 of American millennials don't know about Auschwitz, and 22% of American millennials have not heard about the Holocaust. Unfortunately, anti-Semitism has deep roots in our Western society. There is a ready market for anti-Semitism in our modern world. We, people of various faiths and traditions, must not shy away from responding to this renewed bigotry and calling out anti-Semitism, racism, discrimination when we see it. As people who fight bigotry in all of its forms, we must redouble our efforts to fight anti-Semitism in our country and in our society, and to stand up against any manifestation of discrimination, racism, bigotry, and hatred. I've named my today talk, Learning from the Past to Build a Better Future. And I would like to first dig a little bit in the past to understand why anti-Semitism is thriving today, and why we should always stand up and speak up against anti-Semitism. Learning from the past, I believe, is the only way to build a better future. So the first question that I would like to address today is, why the Jews? Why the Jewish people have been targeted generation after generation? When we go back to the Bible, when we go back to the Torah in the book of Numbers, chapter 23, you probably remember the story of the king of Moab. His name was Balak. He hired a magician, a prophet, his name was Bilam, to curse the Jewish people. He went up to a mountain, and when he saw the Jewish people dwelling in their tents, he said the following words. He said, Am levadad ishkon. This is a nation that dwells in solitude. This is a nation that is different. This is a nation that prays different. It's a nation that eats different. This is a nation that has a different understanding of the world. And that has served, unfortunately, as a source of discrimination, as a source of hatred for the people who cannot stand a different view and a different perspective of the world. Also, during the Middle Ages, myths have demonized and dehumanized the Jews. Jews were targeted as deicides and accused of killing Jesus. Jews were targeted as ritual murderers. Jews were targeted as agents of the devil, international conspirators, unscrupulous merchants, and many other ways that hurt so much the Jewish community through many generations. Jews have also been targeted as the inventors of consciousness. And if you think about it, there are certain elements in our society that were brought forth by Jews. Moses demanded obedience to law. Jesus demanded obedience to love and sacrifice. Marx demanded obedience to perfect justice. And Sigmund Freud demanded honest self-knowledge. Very high standards for a society, but certainly parameters and ideas that can help us all to be better and to do better and to create a better society. Also, when we dig into the past and we try to learn from the past to understand the future, another element that has been part of anti-Semitism is the idea of the replacement theology. Jews have been considered the old nation. Jews have been considered carrying the Old Testament, old ideas that are no longer relevant for the world. And instead of them, replacing them, there is a new covenant, there is a new pact. Also, when we talk about modern anti-Semitism, the current Israeli-Palestinian conflict has become a source of anti-Semitism. Jews have been depicted as Nazis. Jews have been depicted as racists and genocides. Also, the current state of the world, the polarization that we are experiencing right now in our society and around the world, has increased anti-Semitism. The growth and migration of population around the world, the challenges created by globalization, the rise of radical Islam, which its main enemies are the United States and the State of Israel, and the current political climate here in the United States, with white supremacists marching in cities and around the country, extremists from the right and extremists from the left attacking the Jewish people and other minorities, and religious extremists around the country and around the world who don't cease to discriminate, to hate, and to demonize minorities and the Jewish people. When we talk about anti-Semitism, we have to be very careful, because there is a big difference between anti-Semitism and Judeophobia. Judeophobia means hatred towards the Jews, while anti-Semitism means hatred towards Semitic people. And we know that the Jews are not the only Semitic people. And therefore, when we talk about hatred against the Jewish people, I believe that a more sophisticated term should be Judeophobia, and the people who particularly attack the Jewish people around the world. Unfortunately, the modern face of anti-Semitism is anti-Zionism. In many circles, it is not politically correct to attack the Jews or the Jewish people, but it is perfectly fine to attack the modern state of Israel. And we have to unmask that, and we have to speak up, and we have to say very clearly that those who are deliberately attacking the state of Israel are also attacking the Jewish people. We have all the right to criticize the state of Israel. We have all the right to criticize the government of Israel. but we do not have the right to do that attacking the Jewish people around the world. In 2016, the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, gathering in Bucharest, decided to adopt a non-legally binding working definition of anti-Semitism. This definition says the following: anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews which may be expressed as hatred toward Jews. Rhetorical and physical manifestations of anti-Semitism are directed toward Jewish or non-Jewish individuals and or their property, toward Jewish community institutions and religious facilities. This definition targets many anti-Semitic people around the world, and it speaks about the delegitimation of the Jewish people, demonization, and double standards of the Jewish people or the state of Israel. Fortunately, many countries around the world, fortunately many organizations around the world and in our country, and many universities and many governments and institutions have adopted this definition of anti-Semitism. And I would like to urge universities, college campuses, organizations, and more countries to join this definition, this modern definition of anti-Semitism, because this is how we can fight against racism, discrimination, and anti-Semitism. So let me share with you a couple of manifestations that are included in this definition of anti-Semitism. So contemporary examples of anti-Semitism in public life, the media, schools, workplace, in the religious sphere, could, taking into account the overall context, including but not limited to the following: making mendacious, dehumanizing, demonizing, or stereotypical allegations about Jews as such, or the power of Jews as collective, such as, especially but not exclusively, the myth about a world Jewish conspiracy, or of Jews controlling the media, the economy, the government, or other societal institutions. Another part of this definition includes denying the fact, the scope, and mechanisms, or intentionality of the genocide of the Jewish people at the hands of the Nazis and its supporters during the Holocaust. Accusing Jewish citizens of being more loyal to the state of Israel or to alleged priorities of Jews worldwide than to the interest of their own nations. Denying the Jewish people the right to self-determination by claiming that the existence of the state of Israel is a racist endeavor. Applying double standards by requiring of the state of Israel a behavior not expected or demanded of any other democratic nation, and holding Jews collectively responsible for actions of the state of Israel. These are some of the elements that are included in this definition of anti-Semitism. And I deeply believe and strongly believe that this is a way that we can use tools to denounce and also to fight against modern anti-Semitism. As I mentioned to you before, the current statistics are frightening. There is a 57% increase of anti-Semitic events, as it was reported by ADL a couple of years ago. 2/3 of American millennials do not know about Auschwitz. 22% of American millennials have not heard about the Holocaust. And we have witnessed attacks on synagogues, Pittsburgh, Poway, Muncie, and the list, unfortunately, goes on and on. So my question today to all of us is, based on these elements from the past and learning from the past, how can we build a better future? I'm a firm believer in education. I believe that education is one of the most powerful tools that we have to counter anti-Semitism, violence, hatred, and racism. As you may know, a number of states around the country have established that Holocaust education should be part of their high school instruction. And I would like to applaud those states that have adopted this Holocaust teaching, because I believe that this can make a huge difference in the younger generation. And I would like to mention the states, because I would like to invite other states to join them and to make the Holocaust part of their curriculum for high school students. The state of Arizona, California, Colorado, our state of Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Michigan, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, Oregon, Rhode Island, and Virginia. There are so many more states that should do the same. Education is a powerful tool that we all have. Also, we can always call, email, and text our local representatives and tell them how concerned we are about minorities, how concerned we are about discrimination based on race, gender, sexual orientation, and religion. We can always post on social media and educate our friends and family about what's happening in our society. Another powerful tool that we have to fight anti-Semitism and discrimination and xenophobia is to strengthen our commitment to our religious values. And that's why I'm so proud of Sacred Heart University. And that's why I would like to thank this great organization for hosting this commemoration every year. Because regardless of your faith, regardless of your origin, regardless of your religious background, we are all in this together. And we were all created in the image and likeness of God. And therefore, Sacred Heart is a great example to the world. It's a great example to our society and our country, how we can all coexist together, working for a better future. Be active in your community. Be active in your church, in your mosque, in your synagogue, in relevant organizations. Donate your time and your money. I strongly believe that this is not a time to remain silent. This is a time to speak up and take action. Each one of us is different and special. Each one of us was created in the image and likeness of God. You are wrong if you think you have nothing to contribute to a better society. Each one of us is here for a reason. Each one of us is here to fulfill a mission. Each one of us, with our own personality, can bring a change to the world. Today we remember what it means when we say never again. In honor of those who perished at the hands of the evil Nazi regime, we must stand up to anti-Semitism and any other form of hatred, discrimination, and xenophobia, and put an end to the racist intolerance that is creeping into our communities today. For me, Kristallnacht is a day of remembrance and introspection. It is a day when we mourn and honor the memory of our brothers and sisters who were humiliated that night and massacred years later during the Shoah. For me, Kristallnacht is the story of how stones of hatred and violence were transformed into chief cornerstones, of how broken glass was transformed into new synagogues, and how destroyed walls in Germany were transformed someplace else into solid homes of love and affection. But most importantly, as we commemorate Kristallnacht today, we should all learn the lessons from the past to build a better future for us, and for our children. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Erica Hayden, and I am currently a student at Sacred Heart University. I graduated in 2019 with my BS in psychology, and I will be graduating again in 2021 with my MS in industrial and organizational psychology. I will now be doing a reading titled Silence by Elie Wiesel. We begin with silence, the silence of death, the silence after destruction. There are times when songs falter, when darkness fills life, when Maitre d'Homme becomes a constellation of faith against the unrelieved black space around us. There are no words to teach us beyond the edge of night. There is only silence, the silence of Job, the silence of 6 million, the silence of memory. Let us remember them as we link our silences.
Please rise, and please rise at home. And this time we're going to recite the Mourner's Kaddish, the traditional prayer to remember our loved ones. We're going to recite the Shoah, the Holocaust Kaddish. And we're going to name also the concentration and death camps where 6 million Jews were killed and murdered. Id Gadal,
Auschwitz,
Ve'it Kadash,
Lutz,
Shemei Rabbah,
Puna,
Be'alma Dibra Hirutei,
Babi Yar,
Be'yamlich Malchutei,
Majdanek,
Be'chayechon U'Beyom Echon,
Birkenau,
U'Bechayei Dechol Beit Israel,
Kovno,
Ba'agala U'Bizman Kariv,
Janowska.
Ve'imru. Amen.
Amen.
Yehe Shmei Rava Mevarach Le'alam U'Lolmei Almaya. Idvarach Ve'ishtavach,
Theresienstadt,
Ve'itpa'ar Ve'itromam,
Buchenwald,
Ve'itnaseh Ve'ithadar,
Treblinka,
Ve'it'aleh Ve'ithalal,
Vilna,
Shmei Dekudesha Brichu,
Bergen-Belsen,
Le'ela,
Mauthausen,
Min Kol Virchata Ve'shirata,
Dachau,
Tushvechata Ve'nechemata,
Minsk,
Damiran Ve'alma,
Warsaw.
Ve'imru. Amen.
Amen.
Yehe Shlama Rava Min Shemaya, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
אמן.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. Please be seated.
On behalf of the Sacred Heart community, I would like to thank everyone for joining us here today for our annual Kristallnacht Commemoration. We are gathered here today to recall this unforgettable event in history and to remember the victims of the Holocaust. Innocent Jews were stripped of their human dignity, livelihoods, and lives. This gathering touched our minds and hearts as we remembered this event through scripture and poetry, music, our presence, and the words that Rabbi Marcelo shared with us. As humans of today, we must not forget this event, but today is much more than being uninformed of it. Hopefully, it's being about transformed from it. Knowledge is nothing if it's not accompanied by action. Action that promotes a necessary commitment to a just society, and action that promotes positive change. Knowledge not accompanied with this type of action has become the normality throughout society, and as a result, we have surrendered to the vice of silence. Silence allows and enables injustices to take place. We often think that silence is the best and often only solution to a problem. Being silent is often portrayed as niceness. It agrees with everything and argues nothing. Silence, or niceness, is no solution for solving problems and is a path that will lead us nowhere. Sister Joan Chittister reflects that niceness is at most an escape from reality, the camouflage of honesty, and so it fixes nothing. Silence is much more than the absence of sound. It's also being aware of a problem but refusing to do the morally upright thing of taking action for change. Silence is no solution if we want the injustices throughout the world to be eradicated. The solution is quite simple: conversation. Engaging in dialogue can often be of great difficulty, but it's not impossible. We cannot continue to take the easy route of remaining silent, for it brings nothing. If we dig deep within ourselves and converse with others about the injustices, both here and beyond, hopefully, many of us will find that today is rooted in change and transformation. Yes, there are many injustices in the world, and yes, they can be difficult and challenging topics to discuss, but that does not mean we can't talk about them. Conversation is a proactive approach to justice throughout our world. The more we talk, the more change we'll see. As we leave, let today serve a reminder that idling in silence will bring and change nothing. Engaging in conversation and speaking up and out on injustices is what will bring change. Today is much more than being informed. Hopefully, it's being about transformed.
Oh, 'cause I'm a- 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 'cause I'm a Adam. O Lord, my God, I pray that these things never end. The sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the flash of the heavens, the prayer of my soul. Achol v'hayam rishru shel hamayim barak hashamayim tefilat ha'am.